What's going on, guys? GoldUnReaper here. Today, for my first commentary, I'm going to be talking about why I think Uncharted is the most overrated series in gaming, or one of the most overrated series in gaming. I beat the first and the second game on the Nathan Drake collection recently for PS4. I did not play the games on their original release because I did not own a PS3. I was on 360 last gen. I beat both of the games on hard mode in one playthrough. I probably will not play them again because I did not enjoy them that much. That's why the video is going to be called Why I Think Uncharted is Overrated. But before we get started on why I think the game's overrated, I'm going to be showing you a few comments that were posted when I shared my thoughts on the PSN forums. And yeah, just be warned, a few of these comments are pretty cancerous. They're from special needs children and Uncharted fanboys and other Uncharted players who claim the game is very good and not overrated, but for some reason they only beat the game on normal mode and have less than 15 trophies. But yeah, check these out. Be warned, you might lose a few brain cells, but it won't be too bad. Now this first comment is going to be from an Uncharted fanboy. We all know you can't take fanboy seriously because it's a mental illness. This second comment is another Nathan Drake fanboy. You can't take them serious, really. This next comment is from someone who thinks sales make a game good, which I have to disagree with. These next two comments are from two special needs children, just gonna ignore them. But this last comment is from somebody who claims that Uncharted is one of the best games ever and he'll defend it, but then he only beat Uncharted 2 and 3 and he only has 15 trophies in those games, not to mention the fact that he only beat them on normal mode. So you can't really take that opinion seriously. But yeah, now I'm gonna get started on why I think Uncharted is one of the most overrated game series of all time. So starting with the first Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, I'm gonna be talking about the story, the gameplay, and the characters. So yeah, starting with the story, we all know the basic background. Nathan Drake's a treasure hunter thief, believed to be the descendant of Sir Francis Drake. His true name is unknown because he made the name Nathan Drake up for himself, and he's basically an orphan. The actual game Uncharted Drake's Fortune starts with Drake and journalist Elena Fisher recovering the coffin of Sir Francis Drake from the ocean floor. Elena's recording the events for a documentary she's writing. In the coffin, Drake finds a journal of Sir Francis Drake, and from there Drake meets up with Victor Sullivan, aka Sully, and they leave Elena behind and head to the Amazon in the search for El Dorado, starring the adventure. Now, to me, the overall story of Drake's Fortune is very underwhelming. There's no true antagonist in the game, which really hurts the story for me. There's some semi-antagonists, Eddie, Raha, Gabriel, Roman, but they have no substance to them. I honestly could care less about them as characters because we don't really know too much about them. But the same goes for Drake and Elena and Sully. We don't know too much about them. There's minimal character development, so I found myself not really caring about any of the characters in this first game. Now, one thing which in my opinion ruined the game was the impossible events that happen over and over and over again. The explosions, the falls, just happening so constantly. It just ruined the immersiveness of the game for me. And it really took me out of the game. Like, I'd start to enjoy, even, it gets repetitive wave after wave of enemy, but I start to enjoy the climbing and some of the scenery and stuff. But then an impossible explosion will happen that Drake somehow survives, blah blah blah, and that it really kind of just ruined the game for me. In terms of gameplay, I like the cover system. It's not as good as the cover system in The Last of Us, but it's still pretty solid in my opinion. The main problem with the first game was the shooting. The gun sounds are awful. The guns feel so underpowered, it's ridiculous. I don't want them to drop in one or two shots, but like when I'm playing on hard mode, it's not even on crushing. Like, they should be dropping. I would get headshots sometimes, and the bullets wouldn't even fucking register. Like, it was getting ridiculous. But yeah. One thing I really liked about the gameplay was the AI. On hard mode, the AI try to like flank you and shit, and they'll throw grenades to get you out of cover, so you can't just camp and sit there the whole game. But yeah, unlike games on hard mode like Battlefield and Call of Duty, where the enemies they do the same thing. They just, you know, have more damage to their weapons. It makes it a lot less interesting when games are like that. So I like when the AI is a little smarter, makes it a little more challenging. But yeah, my main issue with the gameplay was the repetitiveness. Now, I know games are all repetitive by nature, but some games hide it better than others, and Uncharted is not one of the games that hides it very well. It's wave after wave of enemy, more waves of enemies, a little climbing, more climbing, a little running, more enemies, a little climbing, and then the occasional puzzle and quick time event. And it really just got to the point where I was like, alright. Touching on the graphics quickly, I understand that Uncharted 1 and 2 are old games, so I understand they have shitty textures. I'm not going to hold that against the game. But they ran at a solid 1080p, 60 FPS. Only maybe 1 or 2 frame drops that I actually noticed. So yeah, the graphics are pretty good. Now I want to touch on the characters of Uncharted. I'm going to touch on the 4 main characters, but right now I'm only going to touch on Drake, Sully, and Elena, and what happened in the first game pretty much with their characters. But I found these 3 to be very uninteresting. In fact, I find most of the characters in Uncharted to be very uninteresting. But starting with Drake, he's a thief. I can't overlook that. And he's supposed to come off as witty and charming, but I honestly found him annoying. And I can't overlook the fact that he's a fucking mass murderer, and somehow he just kills hundreds and hundreds of people pretty much by himself. Because when you have Elena with you or Chloe, they'll shoot the enemies, but when they shoot them, they don't die. They can get them out of cover, but they won't kill anybody from what I noticed. You have to be the one to kill everybody. And he kills all these people trying to get this treasure, and he shows no emotion while doing it, no regret. Like, that really hurt his character for me. Like, just snapping people's necks, throwing them off cliffs, like, and he's still cracking jokes and shit. Like, fuck out of here, man. That's ridiculous. But yeah, one of my main problems at the end of the first game, actually I can't even say it's a problem. He destroyed a weapon or whatever that pretty much saved the world, so I'll give him that. He kills a bunch of people in the first game, but he's a hero. But I'll talk about what happens in the second game later. But starting with Elena, she's honestly the only truly good person in the Uncharted series so far from the first 2 games. She's not really a killer. I don't know, she's loyal. She sticks by Drake, she helps him out, and she risks her life for him. So she's probably the only character I somewhat like. And then there's Sully, who he did nothing for me. He's pretty much comic relief at some points, and he serves as a mentor for Drake. And yeah, I didn't find his jokes funny at all, and I don't care about Drake, so obviously I don't care about his mentor. So to end off this first part of my video on why Uncharted is overrated, I want to give a overview of what I thought about the first Uncharted game. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. It's below average. I know it was probably good when it first came out, but I think it's widely agreed upon that Uncharted 1 is the worst Uncharted game. So yeah, and I really got nothing out of the game. It's very forgettable, a lot of cliches, a poor man's Indiana Jones at best. But yeah, next video will be part 2 of why I think Uncharted is highly overrated. And in that, I'll talk about Uncharted 2 and give my final thoughts.